Good evening, coming to you from around the campfire. It's Epic Tales, featuring Epic Tales, a campfire discussion about all things bookish. Joining me today is my buddy Epic Tales. Let's talk about all things bookish. We haven't even planned this. We don't even know how this is going to go. But hey, Epic's here, and things could get crazy when Epic's here. Joining my family here on our camping trip this year.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm just very grateful to, meet the family. It's been, I think, 2 years since the last time I saw them.
Probably, yeah, something like that.
And I miss them. And, when Drew offered to, host me at this camp setting and everything, I had to say yes, because it's just the time to relax, talk about stories and, meet his family who have been so wonderful to me. And I'm so grateful to be here, to be honest, and I'm excited about what this video is going to be.
Yeah. So, what was the last book you finished reading?
The last book I finished reading was Ash and Sand Trilogy. Oh my God, what a book, what a book. I know within the Grimdark community, a lot of people have been telling me to read this book, read this book, read this book. To be honest, I read book 1 and I wasn't so hyped about reading book 2 and book 3. But then this year, I was like, you know what, let me get this over the line so that I've read this, book that everyone within the Grimdark community rates so highly. And when I read by the time I halfway through book 2, I understood I was reading a book that I can reread maybe even 10 times. The character development of Ruka is something that is absolutely outstanding, and just the world and how where Ruka starts and where Ruka ends it's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. Like, I highly recommend you read that book. And I think
if you're recommending it, then I know it's got to be good.
100%.
I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but and I mentioned this on the channel before, but like, have you ever read a series that you have incredible memories reading? You absolutely fell in love with it, and then you reread it, and then you're like, why did I love this as much as I did?
Yes, 100%.
It's tough, man. I just finished, the last book I finished was Heart of Black Ice by Terry Goodkind. I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy for pushing myself to complete the reread of the whole Sword of Truth world that I have. But I really wanted to finish it because it's crazy. It's one of those stories that, as much as the writing drives you up the wall, it's like, oh, come on. As much as it's so black and white in so many ways, as much as it gets excessively preachy, yes, still can't help but love the characters, and the world that was created is still really amazing, and it's almost become that love-hate. I did that breakup video because I realized that after I was finally done rereading through this whole series, it's not one I could ever go back to, ever.
But the thing about stuff like that is that it's like the first time you read it, you were probably somewhere in your life, and then when you're rereading it, you're somewhere completely different. So the effect it had on you the first time might not be the same effect it has on you now, and that would never take away from what it did for you in your first experience. But at the same time, it's like you can actively identify how your taste and how your taste has evolved. You can actively appreciate how your taste have evolved and how you've grown as a human being as well. Because there are a lot of books that are like yesterday I was telling you about what's the name of the book that is based on D&D again?
Dragonlance.
Dragonlance, yeah. I know I really, really enjoyed that when I was much younger, but if I read it now, I'm not sure I would enjoy it as much. But I'm still willing to give it a go. But I just have a sense that I'll have that experience reading Dragonlance.
Yeah, it's a risk when you go back and reread something you absolutely fell in love with. I feel like it would be the same experience with Ender's Game for me. The more I've learned about Orson Scott Card as an individual, as a person, the more I'm seeing his personal ideology so heavily infused in a lot of his writing that it's made it exceptionally difficult for me to really enjoy his writing anymore. Just because.
What is the general premise of his ideology?
So like me, Orson Scott Card, or I'm ex-Mormon. Orson Scott Card, however, is very much hardcore go Mormon. He's very much in that community, and he's very outspoken in his Mormon faith. He's very much anti-LGBTQ. He very much condemns the ideology, even idea of it. He's very much against transgenderism, and it's spoiler warning for those that maybe enjoyed Ender's Game and didn't realize this, but I learned this much later. Is one of the terms used for these insectoid aliens is buggers. At the time that I first read that book, I had no clue that buggers was actually a derogatory term for gay people. And the premise of this book was, and it's not that Orson Scott Card would have been ignorant of that at the time of his writing. Like, there's no way he could have been ignorant. This term did not come after Ender's Game, but had been around long before. And the premise of Ender's Game is that the buggers are a threat to humanity. And knowing how he feels about that community, it's really kind of soured okay, wow. Yeah, and it's so hard not to see that when thinking about that story.
And that would definitely affect your reading experience. It's just what it is. I don't know, I feel like from the writer perspective of it, just keep your personal life out of the public eye. Nobody cares really. These are your books they're interested in. And because if you enjoyed it the first time and it's like a story you enjoy in its essence and in its in the story itself, but after you learn more about him, you're seeing how he kind of infused some of his hateful ideologies into his storytelling. If you didn't know that, you just enjoy the book and keep moving on, and it's harmless.
Exactly.
On one level, and another level is just don't infuse. So I was reading this thing on writing by Stephen King, and he says that writing, storytelling, is more is not. He said he didn't want to call it storytelling. He wanted to call it truth telling. So it's when you have a bias or you have an ideology that is you need to recognize it's an ideology and make sure it doesn't, even if you're presenting it in your book, it's not as an objective truth but as an idea, right? And you need to have enough perspective to have opposition to that idea that is fair. You know what I mean? So ideas clashing equally on both sides, on the level of ideas. Maybe you can do good on one side, evil on one side, but the ideas itself should be separate from. They should clash equally. They should be given a fair chance to, rebut each other back and forth, so that by the time a reader experiences all of that, they are not swayed on either side of the argument, but they are more, enlightened about the general idea of everything. You know what I mean? Because you cannot blame people. Well, not blame, but you cannot tell people what to think and how to feel about what they feel. But you can be if you're going to talk about it, be honest about it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's I don't want to know. I don't really care about what you Storytelling should be separate from, hateful ideologies and all of that
and
stuff.
I actually don't mind an author putting their own viewpoints and perspectives in a book. So many authors do it. Or Scott Card wasn't the only one. Terry Goodkind has done that. Even Brandon Sanderson has done that with some of his writing. But the difference is in how is this handled within the writing and the storytelling. Does it come across as exceptionally biased and obvious, the ideology you're pushing forward? or does it come across in a way that's meant to represent the idea without making it seem like you're being preached to? And that's a key difference. I mentioned Brandon Sanderson does that. A lot of his books, especially Stormlight Archive, there's a focus on religion. He's also a Mormon writer. He has religion within these books. He has arguments for the existence of God and why God is good. He has those arguments, like, but God created the world kind of thing. But the way they're presented within these books is not, just believe in God, it's true. Like, it's not an in-your-face preachiness.
Yeah.
But he actually brings in viewpoints from other characters to kind of balance that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come across as preachy. Terry Goodkind, it's very obvious. The guy was crazy about libertarian ideals, which, funny enough, I ran as a libertarian. You'd think that would work well with me, but it's not so much that the principles and ideas portrayed in the book were problematic, so much as how they were portrayed in the story and how it was so preachy. I don't like that. I don't want to be preached at when I'm reading, right?
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that someone could write a book from a viewpoint that I completely disagree with, but it's still being incredibly well done and presented and written well. I really do believe that.
Yeah, you must be able to understand the other side of the argument and represent it fairly. That I feel like that's the key.
That is key. Yeah.
You cannot, and nobody wants to be preached to. You cannot tell me I already have my own way of thinking. I have my structure of thoughts. I have my axioms of thought. You cannot now come and tell me, like, this is the way. You know what I mean? You can't come and tell me this is the way and this is it. Because for every idea that you put out unopposed, the part of me that disagrees with that idea is unsettled. It's like, this is basically bullshit. Bullshit.
Exactly.
You can't, you need to speak for me as well. You need to represent me in your story somehow to oppose those ideas. So if you have ideas being opposed fairly, then you can have a situation where you're writing a book from an honest perspective. Because at the end of the day, nobody has the way. Nobody knows the way. Every human being is trying to figure it out. Some people do that through philosophy. Some people do that through religion. Some people do that through science. But everybody is just humor. Everybody is just trying to figure it out. So don't write a book as if you're writing it for children who are lost in the desert or something and need to find their way. I don't see myself like that, and no, thank you. I don't want that in my story. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
How much Discworld have you read?
I haven't read anything from Discord.
Oh man,
Discworld.
You gotta. One thing I love about Terry Pratchett is he often presents the ideas from such a ridiculous extreme that it's not only hilarious, but it makes you stop and think. It's like, wait a minute, what is Terry actually saying about this issue? But he does it so effectively in such a humorous way that you're not really sure if he's poking fun at those who agree with this idea, or if he's just presenting a pro-argument for this idea, but doing it through an extremely humorous way.
Terry Pratchett is such a legend.
He is a legend, and for that reason. His books deal with religion, philosophy, science, social issues such as racism and discrimination, and, inclusion. And just everything is just so funny. It's so well done. He doesn't just poke fun at these ideas, but he poked fun at entire industries. Moving Pictures was one of the Discworld books. It was all about how ridiculous Hollywood is. It's and it goes to extremes about how people go there and they want to be these stars, and of course Hollywood's this brutal business, and he totally portrays it in an absolutely humorous way, but you stop and think, I'm like, yeah, that seems like Hollywood. It's hilarious. I love it when a writer can do that. I love it when they can make you think about these ideas and really make you go, huh. While at the same time making you laugh you've never laughed before. And they're short books. It's not like these long, drawn-out books. They're quick reads.
And he's never on the nose about it. He lets you experience it, and he does it in a ridiculous way. So, but at the end of the day, you come to a conclusion that is of your own, and it's because he's good at telling stories, or should I say telling the truth.
Yeah.
He's a truth teller, and that comes off across as he's able to do it on a genius level. So Terry Pratchett for sure is someone that gets the essence of that aspect of storytelling when it comes to representing and portraying ideas in his stories.
I love, like, there's this like Raising Steam was one of them, where goblins were working for the railway. This was like a whole new concept. People like mind blown. Wait, goblins are working for you? You mean they're actually people and can do work? And it's just the way it's presented is hilarious, because when you think about the parallels within our own historical economies and societies that we've had, there have been groups of people who have not been considered people, and it becomes shocking when we find out they're just as smart as we are. Right? In this case, it isn't, human society or groups of people that have been segregated or told they're less than human, but rather it was a group of people that actually were not human at all. And they were goblins. They were just a different species, but surprise, surprise, they're just as smart as the rest of us, so they could also work. Sure, they're different. Sure, their culture might be like weird and make us want to go run away. Maybe some things about their culture really disturb us, but that doesn't make them less than what humans are.
They are sentient, basically.
Yeah,
they are sentient,
exactly.
And that cannot be ignored. Like they have dreams and they have aspirations, and they understand the value of hard work and working together, teamwork. That are all qualities that we would recognize as human. So it's like, if you can see those human qualities in a species that is different from yours, how can you not respect it? Especially when they can also communicate with you as well. It's like, how much respect are you going to give? Like, I haven't even read the book, but then it's already got me thinking. So
exactly.
that's Terry Pratchett in a nutshell, basically.
Yeah, Pratchett is amazing at that. And I love reading an author who has the ability to do that. I mean, some authors just write ridiculously funny books that you can't help but love no matter what. There's really no point to it. It's just a stupidly funny book. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a classic example of that. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. I mean, first time I read it, I was laughing on almost every page. Because it's just, it pokes fun at everything. It has no real point. There's no moral philosophy to it. The story itself doesn't really have a point. It's just funny. And, it's so hard to write a story with no point and still be funny and still make it a good book and a good story.
You said this world has like 70-something books, right?
41.
41 books, and you've read all of them.
I've finally finished all of them. I finished the last one, The Shepherd's Crown. I just finished that this past month.
Wow, congratulations.
I've been reading them for like 2 years, man.
Wow, I feel like you have to be congratulated for that. You have to be congratulated for that.
It's not like Malazan, man. They're easy to get through. All right, well,
stay epic and peace.
Absolutely.
Peace.
And until next time, keep on reading. Bye.